welcome back. Hey, man. So, we have this UFC 292 pay-per-view card, numbered pay-per-view card to discuss. We'll talk about the main event, the co-main event. Mike won't be available for our WMMA podcast, so we'll talk about the Zhang Weili versus Amanda Lemos fight also. But there's been some pretty big news, UFC-related news, breaking in the last few days. We have actually, I guess this one isn't even specifically related to the UFC as much as it is for just the unified rules across the board. There's been some new rules implemented, and that looks to kind of like change up the way that referees kind of officiate the sport, providing they actually use these rules.
There's a lot of rules that you don't see like used at all. So yeah, good point.
Yeah, we'll see if it's still kind of up in the air as to whether or not they want to enforce them.
Doctors coming in, like doctors come in on cuts now, right? Or cutmen can come in.
There's a few rules that kind of outline that when a fighter is fouled and when the fighter sustains a cut specifically as a result of a foul, they'll have a cut and eye pokes. If they have a cut, then they can pause the action and have a doctor come in and take a look at it. And, well, excuse me, not just a doctor, but have a cut man come in and work on the cut mid-round, which I think is kind of interesting because you kind of have to wonder, like, okay, the referee will have to be very selective about when they let that happen because you have to be wary of the momentum of the fight. And it's like, okay, we're giving both guys a break when we do this.
Absolutely.
But I do think that it's kind of good that, because there's instances where the ref will call for the fight to be paused for a cut, but they had this policy that I just want the doctor to come and take a look at it, but we're not necessarily going to wipe you off or try and stop it or anything like that.
Oh, see, I misunderstood it then, because I thought they can come in, give them like a little bit of time and like go over it, right? But like I didn't know they couldn't clean it out or like put any. They obviously couldn't put any like clotting agents or anything on it, right, or anything like that.
Yeah, and ultimately they would end up cleaning up the cuts anyways, because for a doctor to look at it, like it's easier to tell how bad a cut is once they wipe the fighter down. Right. So they do end up getting wiped down, but not.
They're like they got one eye on that corner like the whole time. Like as soon as that whistle or whatever it is that they use to break it, then they're probably like right over there, huh? That makes sense.
But I guess now it's determined, or I think really what the determining factor is going to be whether or not there was a foul involved. So there's going to be like, if there's like a headbutt or something like that causes a cut, then they will let the cut man come in and do their thing to clean it up to try and keep the fight going, which I guess it makes sense. It's kind of hard to think of how many instances I've seen where specifically a foul caused a cut and that was like a thing that needed to be addressed. You know what I mean?
That, you know what? I guess if we hadn't really gone over it to this level, I probably wouldn't have thought about it. But now that you mention that, like, dang, you never really see that at all. It's mostly eye pokes. It's mostly the really screwed up thing. You never really get the cut.
And that's the next one. Well, there's like 5 new rules, and maybe we won't get into all of them. But I think this one's the best one, which is if there's an eye poke now, the same thing. They'll give you a full 5 minutes, whereas before they didn't. But I think some media members that I've heard talking about this said that they're not sure if these rules are going to be implemented or if they already are. I think they might already be, because I've seen some recent fights where there's been eye pokes where they give them like up to 5 minutes, it seems like, and that wasn't always the case.
Is there now? Do they just keep you? Is there a unified? Like to my understanding, it goes commission to commission, right? As far as like, I mean, I guess it's like understanding that everything's pretty unified, like the rules, but like I guess commissions they give different like rulings on times like that or no?
I honestly I don't know how it works. I think there is like the unified rules, which everybody has to adhere to, and then once you get down to the promotions, they're able to also kind of implement their own rules as long as they don't fly in the face of the unified rules. Like,
okay.
like for example, the PFL,
Like Fight Circus or something like that.
yeah, they got to go to
Like,
Thailand
okay,
for that.
if you're gonna wear a 2-man suit, you can't do the Uncle Sam outfit because that's been done and that's trademark. Like,
Yeah, it's hard to picture what kind of an impact an eye poke is going to have when you're doing blindfolded Muay Thai.
yeah,
But like take for example the PFL, and I don't know if this is across the board for the PFL, but there's no elbows allowed to a grounded opponent in the PFL, and I think that's because they rely so much on their tournament format that elbows cause cuts, and so they don't allow elbows. Now, I don't think that they could turn around and just be like, but we do allow soccer kicks because,
okay.
because that's not allowed under the unified rules. So I think they're able to go a little bit above and take away certain certain things. Like it kind of makes me wonder if there was a new promotion, or if Bellator randomly said, you know what, we don't like oblique kicks. Oblique kicks are illegal in Bellator. Like I think they could probably do that.
You know what's crazy is that you mentioned all this and all the different like promotions, is that I didn't really like, I had an eye on this card, but it wasn't like the thing to do, you know. And but one thing like I really kept going back to was like Khalil Roundtree would run through the PFL like fucking Michael Myers, dude. He would just be like, dude, the music, that should just be his walkout music, dude.
Yeah.
If Khalil Roundtree came to it would just be Michael Myers, dude. He just would not, he would kick the shit out of everybody in that promotion. It's a trip, but I think like you've had that thought, right? But it goes for a lot of other fighters. It's like fighter of the cycle. We've talked about this millions of times, where there's a cycle of fighters because of just injury time they've been away, whatever it is. But a lot of guys fight around the same time. Like you'll notice a lot of guys fight around when Volk fights or whatever, just body clock or whatever.
The city kickboxing guys kind of get on cards together.
They schedule their shit, yeah. So one thing I was thinking was like there's always fighters that come around, but like whenever his fight cycle comes around, or whenever he fights, I always think about that because I'm not sure about one championship. Maybe it would be cool to see him do 4 ounce Muay Thai, kickboxing in one championship.
Oh yeah,
that would be sick. So I think about shit like that all the time, like FIFA, when you can like take your player to like different leagues around Europe or like South America or whatever. That'd be sick. Can you do that? That'd be so sick if someone could do that, where they had PFL, they had one championship, they had UFC, and then like you kind of had to work your way through like Jungle Fight and Cage Warriors and like all that other stuff.
Oh, I see.
Right. And then it was like legit, and then you can like legit train with like our WEC or whatever. And you're like, oh, like story mode, and like Cub Swanson's right there. Like, have you ever seen fucking like 2K or whatever? Like those story modes and shit? That would be sick, dude. Like, oh yeah, fucking you're in Sacramento, you're training with fucking Team Alpha Male, or you're just like going, and like you just kind of go through their training system, which would be like wrestling or whatever. But that'd be sick to do that with Khalil Roundtree and just kick the shit out of like fucking like, you know what I mean?
The wandering warrior mode. Dude, Khalil Roundtree. Right? I feel like we've definitely seen some performances out of Khalil Roundtree where you just kind of get the sense where it's like, okay, on any given night, this guy, like if the Khalil Roundtree that we saw this past weekend was in there with Jamal Hill, even on Jamal Hill's best day, Khalil Roundtree could very well have been like a temporary UFC light heavyweight champion. Like that guy, when he's on, he is just so on. And I wasn't anticipating that we were going to recap this past weekend's card.
There's a lot more Chris Dawkises like in the PFL, like intertwined between Bellator and PFL, and than there are of Jamal Hill. Even, you know what I mean?
And sometimes we want to just want to see a fighter feast. Like we don't always. Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah. Definitely, like
he would definitely have a rough time with Vadim Nemkov for sure. That would be a rough night out for him. But I mean, other than that, I don't see a ton of guys.
Oh, give me all the Khalil Roundtree versus Corey Anderson, dude.
Oh, dude. Well, Corey would make that weird, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't really want to talk about this card. I didn't watch a ton. I went back and watched the Cub Swanson fight because he of the ending where he didn't think he won, but I don't know. I could have seen it either way. So
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch that. I pretty much only watched the WMMA fights on this card.
Yeah.
I'm really not prepared. I was planning to watch the RDA, the RDA versus Vicente Luque fight.
Why is it that you only watch the female ones though? Is there like something about the fighters where they?
I easily could have missed them because they were spread around throughout the entire card. They weren't all like back to back or clustered together. Yeah. So part of it was because I did want to watch pretty much all of the female fights. Like they all had at least like one girl involved in each fight that I was kind of interested to see how their performance was going to go. I wouldn't say that any of the matchups were like, oh, this is a fucking banger of a WMMA fight. But I would put it on and one would be starting and I'd be like, okay, here we go. And then I would like tune in a little bit later and I would just be catching it right as the next one would be starting. So that's all I pretty much watched. I didn't really have a whole lot of interest in anything else throughout the card. I don't know how much longer we're going to get Cub around. You watched the Cub Swanson fight. That was a controversial decision.
Yeah. And I watched it at work, like on my computer while I was like typing like data entry on other stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't have the commentary on. And plus it was like really shitty computer, like desktop office computer speakers. So I just like watched it and I would stop and watch like 2, 3, 4 minutes of it, 5 minutes of it, like at a time. And I was like, I don't know, that's close. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I didn't really want to watch the Vicente Luque thing because like I'd call him a Make-A-Wish kid or something that was getting his like last chance. They're gonna dress him up like Batman and like let RDA like hold his hand up to the sky. So that was a really shitty take. So maybe that I was just kind of not wanting to face the fact that I'm a moron.
We were very wrong about that one. Yeah, apparently Vicente Luque came out.
I was a piece of shit.
Yeah, no, I picked RDA big time too. We heard about Vicente Luque's brain hemorrhage and just thought, well, this guy shouldn't be fighting anymore. But I think kind of. I don't want to make excuses, but I mean I've always preferred RDA at 155 pounds. So
RDA is the fanboys. It's maybe not the Sharps pick, but it's like the fanboy pick. Mm-hmm. There's a reason he was a pretty significant, and that's why I didn't watch it. I took my kids to some fucking, what's it called, Great America,
to lose to a golden retriever in basketball.
Yeah, dude, that made me laugh hella fucking hard, dude, because. Like I take my kid to like softball or like what if like my daughter does kick Muay Thai? What if like it was like a class and they're like humoring this fucking like golden lab and you're just like what the and then it just like round kicks my daughter to the dome and you're just like what the fuck?
Or it's not even martial arts, it's just a mauling like a dog would maul like
just straight fucking inner city pit bull, huh?
Yep. Let's see. Oh,
we devolved from like straight up fucking. We devolved from the rules, like unified rules, and to like straight to straight fucking dogs mauling kids, dude.
The Khalil Roundtree of pit bulls, just.
Dude, Khalil Roundtree would be a pit bull in freaking PFL, dude. He would be an inner city pit bull, like pregnant titties, just swinging, dude. Weird trash smell.
Escaped from the dog fighting rink and just kind of out on the streets. Yeah. To take it back to the rules a little bit, because I did want to mention about the eye poke one. So I mentioned I liked this one more because what was the issue for me prior was that a guy would get poked in the eye, they would always be like, well, it wasn't intentional. so few are intentional, but the fact of the matter is this man got poked in the eye and he can't see. And then they would immediately have the doctor come in and ask, can you see or not? And the fighter basically would have to lie, because if they said no, I can't see, I need a little bit more time, they would call the fight off.
Yeah.
And so now they've fixed that, so they have 5 minutes. Or I think
within that 5 minutes there should be a replay too. Like, how open was that hand? Like, how open was it as compared to, did it start closed and then opened up closer to the face? Because that's like telltale sign for me. Like, I always watch that when, if they're swinging from like the hip, if they're starting with a balled hand, a balled up fist, I'm automatically thinking, okay, well, once it fingers out near the eyes, you're trying to gouge that fool's eyes out. You're not trying to jab him, dude.
Yeah.
You know, more times than not, I would say like 7 times out of 10, if someone starts with the closed fist and then around the face, all of a sudden it's like, no.
I think a lot of times what it looks like to me too is they're like throwing, like about to kind of throw a punch, and then the opponent is throwing a punch at the same time, and they kind of like they kind of abort, and they try to push like off instead. Yeah. But either way, man, I just think it's good that I wish that they would have implemented more just straight up. I wish they would have just said, okay, we're just going to take points. We're going to be more liberal about taking points for eye pokes. But progress is progress, I guess. I don't hate any of the new rules. One that I think is interesting that a lot of people thought was coming out of this Corey Sandhagen versus Rob Font fight was just the inactivity rule, that the referees are going to have more of an opportunity to just say, hey, you're stalling, basically, and say, take away positions. That one, I guess, is kind of, I guess it's a little bit of recency bias, and it's easy to be like, oh, this is because of the Sandhagen fight, but it kind of also makes me wonder if that was already kind of put into play for this previous card, because it was the Yasmin Lucindo versus, who did she just fight this weekend? Polyana Viana fight, where
please, dude, please, yeah, right, dude, like you did, that was a
oh no, I literally forgot for a sec.
Polyana Viana, there you go.
Well, there was a couple instances where Polyana got a takedown, and she was kind of sitting in Lucindo's half guard. And basically, for anybody who's not super in the know, when it comes to grappling positions, anything other than a fighter sitting in another fighter's guard, once they're in another fighter's guard, like a full guard, and there's inactivity, the ref will stand it up. But pretty much any other position, if you have any more of an advanced position, then the ref can kind of warn you, but they're never going to stand you up. In this one, the ref was constantly warning them for inactivity, and rightfully so. Nothing, they weren't doing anything. Lucinda was just like holding on to her tight, but she was in a half guard, and I think at one point an even more advanced position, and the ref was saying, hey, I'm going to stand this up. And it's like, oh, really? We're doing that now? So it kind of makes me wonder, like, what if you have an Aljamain situation where he's backpacking somebody and doing nothing, or Muhammad Makayev.
Kind of crazy time to put for Dana to put that out, right? Or I know it's in Dana, but the UFC.
Yeah, it's a little bit, because I mean, I would think that the refs won't be that bold, because if you see a guy with back control, I mean, they'd have to be really inactive for a ref to be like, no, I'm taking away this incredibly dominant position. But time will tell.
Like Aljamain with the fucking hand on Sean O'Malley's wrist, just up in the air, socking him up from behind, and then they're like, "Dude, get up! What the fuck are you doing?"
Well, the fourth rule, I don't remember all 5. I have an article open, but I'm just kind of riffing here. Yeah. I know one of the rules is going to have to do with fence grabs and fouls and surrendering positions when you foul. I'm sure you saw the Weasel breakdown of the Peter Yan versus Sugar Sean O'Malley fight, where he pointed out all the instances where Sean O'Malley grabbed the cage to avoid takedowns.
More than once. Yeah.
Now the ref will have. I think the referees could have done this at any time prior, but they were probably needed it to be outlined in an official rule. Well, now if the referee sees you grab the fence and you're able to defend a takedown because of that, the referee can call a foul and say, nope, that would have been a takedown, and then make you get into a position where you're on the ground. And I think that kind of goes back to the stalling thing too, because you could also be stalling from the bottom, I think. So like if you're a ground player but you have to pull guard or something like that, and I think if the top player can stall, that can also get stand up. It's kind of complicated, but yeah, new changes, and I think this weekend's card, especially the main event, could be interesting. I could see multiple instances where these new rules take effect, so that's going to be really intriguing.
That's a good point, dude. Oh man, but just the timing of it all, really, like, I mean, I'm not that much of a conspiracy theorist to think that, but some iterations of this really needed to happen, but that stalling shit, it really is funny with Aljamain, especially in this fight, because if he was fighting Cejudo maybe, and this came out, I wouldn't make it, because that was kind of the grappling crossed each other out, but Aljamain's gonna want, if it's 25 minutes, he's gonna want like between 9 and 11 minutes of him just straight holding Sean O'Malley in a crazy ass position on with his face down. That's all he wants to do. Pause.
Puts him in the bank, and you can get that. I mean, that's 2 rounds in the bank. Absolutely. And
that's minimum. That's like he's thinking about. I guarantee you, he would be doing himself a disservice, a guy with his skill set, to be going through the fight without thinking, okay, like around how long do I have him down on the ground in the prone position where I'm raining down strikes, and how did I get him there? Like he's always keeping score in his head. I'm sure a guy like him would. So it's going to be interesting. It's crazy. I guess we segued into the card.
That's fine. We could talk about the lawsuit afterwards.
Oh shit! Sorry, I know this was the one that you were licking your chops on the lawsuit. Yeah,
that's all right, because even though I watched the MMA On Point video breaking it down, I know less about the whole lawsuit getting class action status than I know about the the rule changes and stuff. But no, that's cool. Like let's break down this main event, because it's an intriguing one for sure. I think both of us probably think that. I don't know. I'm not as bothered by the fact that Sean O'Malley's getting a title shot here, because we know, for one, Aljamain is not going to fight Merab. So even though we feel Merab would be a deserving challenger, it's just not going to happen. And Corey Sandhagen, despite having an awful, as far as entertainment goes, an awful performance recently, he's more deserving, but he's injured, so he's got a fucking a busted arm, so he can't get in there. So I don't have so much of a problem with them putting Sean O'Malley in there. I mean, he does have that win, no matter how controversial, over Peter Yan. That's a W, for him. And I do think that as much as I think that Aljamain Sterling is going to make this his fight, and I think that the way that he. So if this fight were to play out standing, I think that Aljamain Sterling would probably end up losing a close decision. If it plays out on the ground, I think he finishes Sean O'Malley, and that's pretty much the gist of it for me. But to me, it's going to come down to how aggressively is Aljamain Sterling going to pursue that takedown. Is he going to want to try and play or set up his takedowns with Sean O'Malley on the feet? How's that going to look like? Is he going to try and close the distance? Is he going to try and body kick from the outside? Because we know that Sean O'Malley has some durability issues. We know that he's a little bit injury prone. He's had a history of leg injuries.
A deep kick would not be the worst thing in this fight. If you're Aljamain and you're listening for some reason, just maybe oblique kick this kid.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, you got to tenderize those legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oblique kick him right in the shins of his bad ankle. Kick him right in the back, in the calf. Fuck, I would, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I certainly would. I'd probably do a lot worse, considering how bad Sean O'Malley would probably piece me up. But
exactly.
Yeah, I would get real cheap with it.
Yeah, just biting him and shit.
So yeah, it's we saw. I mean, I almost kind of want to ask you, like over under on how many fence grabs we're going to see in this fight, because if I'm Sean O'Malley's coach, I'm telling him, hey man, we can't get taken down.
Can we set like a calendar notification or something to like ask us on like What time would that be? Around what, Saturday night around 10:30?
something
Over
something like
under
that.
cage grabs, and
Uh-huh.
then just like see what it says, because that's a good prop bet right there, dude. Especially
Oh
like
yeah.
it would be really hard to count though. I would say off the top of my head, like I would say seven.
7, dang.
Yeah, I would say seven, but I would four that we could fucking flat out
Definitively.
point
Uh-huh.
to.
Okay.
But I would say like the stuff we don't really see or couldn't really is 50-50 calls, but we don't get the replay or whatever, where it might not be as egregious. But
What if
just because I think Aljamain's going to have Homie against the fence
mhm.
for a long portion of this fight.
Yeah.
If it was like, and I guess plus yeah, because Homie's a cheater too. But
Yeah, I remember watching that Peter Yan fight and thinking Peter Yan squeaked out a decision, but giving credit to Sean O'Malley because I thought that Peter Yan was going to eviscerate him. Like I
yeah,
thought, okay, this isn't going to be close. And despite the fence grabs, which had kind of already faded from my memory until I watched the Weasels recap of that fight recently, I thought like, okay, Sean O'Malley had a good accounting of himself. He hurt Peter Yan on the feet, so we know that despite how gangly he is, like the man has power for sure.
he's very big.
Yeah,
I think we both mentioned it when he got in the fucking ring. He was noticeably bigger than Aljamain, and just like freakishly bigger than Marab.
yeah.
And Marab was eating. You know what I mean? So, Marab has been eating good
Let me
vacations and shit.
let me pull up his measurements and stuff because I don't remember how tall he is, but he's a tall bantamweight. How nice of
Oh
Brandon
man,
to mute his microphone while he violently coughs.
I like straight up. I did the deepest like inhale on some saliva right now that I've ever had. That gave me a headache.
Sean O'Malley is 5'11" to Aljamain Sterling's 5'7", but he only has a 1-inch reach advantage, which is interesting. So yeah, and I think that that size advantage, or that height advantage, I should say, is something that has really helped Sean O'Malley in a lot of his matchups prior.
Yeah,
Like I think he's a guy who knows how to fight tall and kind of build his striking game around that, and it isn't just an incidental like thing that he has that he doesn't know how to use. He certainly knows how to implement that and fight behind a jab too. And really, yeah, I do want to take a moment to really gush over his striking though, because I do think he's a
yeah.
good striker. And
Oh man, one of the top five in the UFC, I
yeah,
would say.
the head movement's incredible. Like, is really really good head movement that I was really impressed by. And like
Instincts.
I know,
He has crazy instincts.
yeah,
In a like he slows things down pretty well. Good hand-eye coordination.
yeah, absolutely. And I know this is gonna make some people roll their eyes, but like the Chris Matinho fight, like, I mean, of course he styled on Chris Matinho. Like it was really an example of a guy who just like didn't belong there, was completely outclassed.
Yeah.
But it looked like it. Like it looked like it was supposed to look. Like he really showed like this is what the difference looks like in a UFC level. A guy who is, on the cusp of top 10 or, breaking into the, trying to get into the top 5 versus a regional guy. And we've seen a lot of guys come in who were probably on Chris Matinho's level and fill in on short notice and have competitive fights with fighters where they really shouldn't have. Sean O'Malley didn't let that happen. He gave Chris Matinho every opportunity to kind of go out there and be a dog, but yeah, he just kind of styled all over him, and I was really impressed with his head movement and his movement in general in that fight, because he could have just decided, I'm going to make it a war and get this kid out of here. It does kind of make me wonder though about Chris Matinho's his jaw though, because we've seen Sean O'Malley one-shot guys, and he hit Chris Matinho with everything. So
absolutely,
yeah,
that he made a point of really styling on him as far as like advanced like fundamentals, like putting the hip into it, like turning on the back foot. Like you and Moutinho just walked through a lot of that stuff. But doesn't also though there's certain guys like I guess you just will never know because Moutinho's not going to fight Cheeto, so you just don't really know like how much he can take or like Sandhagen or whatever. That's the better. I would. So this is the first time we're really going to see him, but oh man, I'm stuck within two minds with this fight for some reason. And I don't know why. I just don't want to admit that I think Sean O'Malley has a better than average shot of winning on Saturday.
Aljamain Sterling has only been finished once.
That's crazy.
And it was the head kick knockout at the hands of was it Marlon Moraes? And so. Yeah, it was Marlon Moraes. Excuse me, it was a round one knee, and it was a shot that probably would have knocked anybody out. So, absolutely. Like aside from that, we don't have much to gauge his chin. I don't recall too many instances where I've seen Aljamain Sterling get hit like really, really flush that would have made me go like, okay, the dude has a chin. Like he took that shot. Okay, he's good. I feel like the only time we've seen him take a shot that is a shot that's going to test your chin was a complete knockout shot. So, yeah, I am kind of curious to see what it's going to look like if he gets really cracked by Sean O'Malley here. And I mean, I guess I could confidently predict what's going to happen, which is he's going to fall back on his instincts and he's going to shoot and he's going to try and get it down. But yeah, I think it's all going to come down to when and where. I think Aljamain Sterling finishes him inside of 4 rounds. I don't think it goes to the distance. I think Sean O'Malley's his submission grappling defense is too untested. I don't care that he guillotined Takanori Gomi this past weekend or whenever. Like
that's Fireball Kid. It was how long ago was that?
Oh, maybe it wasn't this past weekend. I think somebody just pulled up.
I doubt he would fight clip. This past weekend. You're right. He was just like, what are you going to do before your first? I'm going to wrestle like this dude who's like really into manga and like almost honors family the week before my first fucking.
You know why my brain just assumed that it had just happened was because
that's like
when I watched
really saw it.
When I watched it, yeah, I did just see it. I didn't know that they had grappled before, but also when I saw it the other day, it hadn't dawned on me that UFC 292 was this weekend either. Like it was like, oh, that fight's happening. It's coming up. So I don't know. These cards are becoming a little bit of a blur. The last few cards have been a bit of a drag for me, man.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it was just like me and Mike kind of rubbing off on each other too much and just kind of complaining, but yeah, it's been really hard for me to kind of get excited for these past few like fight nights and Apex cards and stuff. So I'm glad that they're going to be kind of going around the world for these next few cards. I don't know necessarily about going around the world, but I know they're going back to Singapore in a couple of weeks. So a lot of live audiences, big cards, live crowds, just not Apex cards, and that's enough for me because
a couple of those in a row can really like just want you to not pay attention to UFC for a while, can really drag on. And if they don't hit the right way, they can really put a drag on like wanting to sit through a whole card.
I just know that if they have to sell tickets, if there's a live gate, they have to try just that much harder to actually get people interested in attending live and getting tickets for somebody. So, yeah. Do you feel like they're kind of – what do you feel about this card overall? Do you feel like they're kind of relying a little bit on –
these cards happen, though. If you throw Cheeto Vera and our boy the King of Cringe on this card, then that's sick.
The King of Cringe?
Yeah, Henry Cejudo, right? Isn't he the King of Cringe?
He is, but he's not on this card though.
No, he was. Wasn't that supposed to be the fight that was supposed to be on this card that we never got?
Oh, he was going to be fighting Marlon Vera. I'm just looking at it right now, the canceled bouts. Dude, I did not even know that they were supposed to fight each other on this card.
If you throw this, okay, you throw O'Malley, those three fights, bang, bang, bang on the poster. That looks sick. That's a sick poster, dog. I don't care what you say. That's a sick ass fucking poster.
Hmm.
And those things make a difference. But I mean, obviously they would be three great fights too. But
Sure.
three and between the what are the six, it would be what 2, 4, 6 fighters. There'd probably be like 4 Hall of Famers in there, pretty close.
Yeah, I can co-sign that. Also, I think it goes a long way for people to kind of see what the potential future matchups are going to be on the same card. To have because we've already seen Marlon Vera making statements about it that if both he and Sean O'Malley win, that they're going to fight each other for the title, and everyone else is just going to have to sit down and wait. Like, I think that, as stupid as that is, there's plenty of people
Very
who
true.
are all about that and all on board. And then you have Henry Cejudo also potentially on the same card. Like, people get excited about seeing other dudes who are probably going to challenge for that strap next on this same card, and just kind of keeps their interest throughout the whole thing. So
if O'Malley wins, who does Cejudo fight if he fights again?
they'll absolutely do O'Malley versus. Well, it depends on if Vera wins, because if
No,
O'Malley.
oh, right. So if Vera and O'Malley win, and then Henry Cejudo's like, I want to be on that card, so I don't want fighting. Who would Cejudo fight? Would it
Oh
be
man,
Sandhagen if Sandhagen is healed?
let me go into these bantamweight rankings, because I think the situation they're in right now with Cejudo is that there's only certain fights that guy's even going to say yes to. I think
Yeah.
he's probably at that
Well,
point,
it's like
in his career.
Volkanovski type of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think Corey Sandhagen Cejudo for us makes sense,
Sure.
but I don't think Cejudo takes that fight.
That would
And
be a
that's not
sick
to say.
tournament. They'd be like, everybody, $2.5 million tournament, Sean
Mhm.
O'Malley, and then whoever wins has to fight Merab Dvalishvili. Like, and I just butchered his name, but that would be sick to like have that like and then do like Hard Knocks is on right now, right, on HBO. Every year they follow like a football team in training camp. That'd
Mhm.
be sick if they did a Hard Knock style reality show of that tournament with Sean O'Malley, with fucking um, Cheeto Vera, with fucking Henry Cejudo, and Corey Sandhagen, and then Marab's in there too. So you just did like, it's like a month and a half reality show like they do on Netflix, like Formula One,
Mhm.
or they did it with golf. Like that would be super. And quarterbacks, right? They follow like Patrick Mahomes all last season when he won. If they did something like that, how like all of us would just be like, "Fuck, this is sick." Like instead of tough, just scrap tough and do
Mhm.
some shit like that. Have a tournament with your top guys. And speaking of
Seasonal.
like, because of that lawsuit, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's like antitrust, and they're really stacking the cards against the fighters as part of that lawsuit, because not just cutting them in on the action to like
Mhm.
to start making good on that shit. Just go back, find guys that are involved in this class action, but like, dude, we're having like 3 tournaments, open weight, so within however many pounds, so like you don't have to like kill yourself on the fucking scales. Like everybody kind of is like around these weight parameters,
Yeah.
and just huge purses, $3.5 million purses. For I mean, you would have fucking John Jones, you would have all these guys coming up and just doing
Mhm.
the best that they could to get that kind of money, that kind of prestige, you know?
Yeah, fucking super fight tournaments, basically.
Yeah,
Like, that would be
that's
cool.
what I
Like,
would do.
catch
Yeah,
weight, semi-open weight, like super fight tournaments. Basically, like have one
yeah,
in between every few weight classes, like
yeah.
between.
Habib would come back. Habib
mhm.
would come back. GSP would come back. Like, dude, because look at fucking golf, dude. Golf, these purses are insane, and I know there's the guys get to wear ads. They're basically NASCAR. They're basically NASCAR cars on just walking a golf course with all the patches and ads. But if the NFL sorry, NFL, if the UFC did that shit, like it just seems so counterproductive. And then they could give these, they're like, you guys are literally fighting and changing your lives substantially. No matter what you do, you're going to come out of that a little bit different. Time off your life. $12.5 million, dude. But it's a
Mhm.
16 man.
Mhm.
Everybody has to get within 4 pounds of 185, or hey, sorry, everybody has to get within 4 pounds of 220.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fucking get down, dog. And then 165 for the smaller guys, and just everybody just fucking get down.
Did I mention possibly well stoned recently in our group chat? I was daydreaming about the idea of having like certain weight classes take place during certain seasons and times of the year. So like all the bantamweights will fight, you know, between February and April or something like that. You know what I mean? And then all those cards, you know, or 2 months or something like that. And all the cards within 2 months will just be all the bantamweights. And they just have all year to be ready for that 2 month stretch. Or even like 3 months or something like that. And then, you know, it's kind of like a bit of a tournament, like everybody, you know, and I don't know, like, I think that would be horrible. And it's not at all what you were just proposing either, but I'm just kind of like spitballing, thinking out loud here. I think like it would be a scheduling nightmare at first to just be like, okay, we're going to get all these bantamweights ready to go for this.
But
this
a couple of,
time.
get these guys, like we were talking about, they fight on cycles. So get a couple of these guys, steroids and just time cycles, but they fight on cycles. And so if we can get these guys all, because Volk now, like if we could do it with a fine-tooth comb and go down like all the guys in featherweight, all the guys in lightweight, when they last fought, theoretically how much time they need to get through a camp to be ready for a big time fight. And then you can kind of see when to start teetering guys off. You know what I mean? Like, hey, dude, you're within that grace period. You're gonna have to be off for about 6 weeks, okay? I'll train on our dime. Come here, we'll train you. Boom, 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 boom. Put these guys up, and they go, okay. Tournament of 16 starts. You got March, April, May. Let's make this shit happen.
We could even do it.
I like what you're saying.
We could even do it like 4 months. That way, the dudes who fight in the first bracket, you know, in the first month, the winners, they could potentially go in and fight, you know, at the end of that 4 months also. So you fight on the first card, and then, you know, the other guys fight, you know, who aren't necessarily, I don't know. It's,
I'm picking up what you're putting down, dude, because I see what you mean. And then fight.
So then we could be like, it's
a separate tournament.
Fucking lightweight season. It's fucking lightweight season again. You know, like it'd just be so dope to see all those guys fight. I just want a all lightweight card. I guess I'd have a boner over that, dude. 2 weeks of nothing but lightweights, dude. Fuck.
Yeah. Dang. Oh, you mean this UFC lightweight division? Yeah. 2 straight weeks every day, or like?
Oh no. Cards? Just like 2 or 3 weekends of, you know, cards that are just nothing but lightweights. You know, the top.
And next week, get ready because the welterweight title is on the line. Like you can hear it all.
Yeah.
Like you just keep like realizing like, oh shit. So when is? And then you're just like, oh, I'm not gonna watch the middleweight, but like anything like Bilal Muhammad's on, I'm like, I'll skip that season. like schedule fucking family fucking trips and shit around Bilal Muhammad fights.
You know, and that's something that I hadn't considered when I was kind of like thinking this up either, is that I think it would kind of give people a better idea of the lay of the land of certain weight divisions, where, because you can, it's always just all random all the time.
You can get sneaky with shit, and but that's, I think Dana prefers it that way because he can hide guys. Yeah, he can hide because shit happens. Look at fucking Yuri, Jamal, fucking injuries. He can fucking hold guys off, be petty about shit. Where if it was like a straight out tournament, the fighters could say like, "Fuck you, Dana. As long as I win my next 2 fights, you're gonna suck my dick. I'm gonna cut me and fucking." You know what I'm saying? But with the randomness that he can control, he has a huge amount of control over. It just benefits. I think that's got to be part of the that lawsuit that they have.
Yeah. So my understanding, I think a big part of the lawsuit is the non-competitive contracts, or the predatory contracts, where all the clauses that kind of lock you in for a long time, and just making it very, very hard to get out of the UFC if that is what you want. It kind of seems like that's what they're angling for. And now I think the range is between like every every fighter who competed for the promotion between the years of 2000, I think it was 2010 or 2011, from 2011 or so to 2017, which apparently the broad number is somewhere around 1,200 fighters, will all be able to collectively sue the UFC or be a part of this class action lawsuit. And I think it's a kind of deal too where if you were, you know, a UFC fighter in that time, you were just automatically part of it. You have to opt out to, you know, not be involved. So that's going to be really interesting to me too, to see how many bootlickers are like, I'm not going to be a part of this. Like, and I mean, there's plenty of fighters.
Justin Gaethje's all sitting in, like, looking over at Dana from the back of the courthouse. And Dana's gonna turn and, like, you know, in those scenes where, like, they turn and look, they're like, and then the mom sits down and they're just like, they like can take a breath. Like, Dana's gonna be all drinking water and turn, and then Justin Gaethje all cross-eyed's gonna look at him and nod like, yeah, dude, oh yeah, I got you.
Dana's gonna be like Lalo Salamanca in Better Call Saul in the courthouse. Yeah. Be like, who's that? And he's like, those are the fighters you screwed over. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. Or like, I'm not just gonna keep doing the, like, I'll call the Simpsons shit. But yeah, dude, that lawsuit blew my mind, because you sent me that link, and like I said, I was with family, right? Mm-hmm. But I did the dad thing of, like, waking up early and, like, getting everything ready so that, like, I didn't have to, like, you know. Yeah. So I was listening to it in my headphones, like getting packed up, getting the car ready, getting breakfast and shit. And then I was like, dude, this is really, really bad. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is actually legit bad. No, I mean, it could really. And then the one thing I thought of, though, and, like, this is how shitty I am, and then basically how Americanized I am, because we can have that degree of separation between, like, this cell phone means at some level, like, predatory, like we're talking about predatory contract, there's, like, some level of, like, slavery or unfair business practice with the cell phone, like, but I can allow that, right?
Yeah.
So, like, the first thing I thought was, like, dude, okay, good for the fight, but what if it just goes, okay, guys, like Itchy and Scratchy on The Simpsons, remember they just closed up, Marge won, and they're like, they had to close up, and then Itchy and Scratchy just sucked.
You did it.
I did it. I was trying to find a way to tie it in, but doesn't that make hella sense? Like they sue Itchy and Scratchy for being too violent, and then they go, well, we got to shut down, and the Itchy and Scratchy fucking, and I think it was fucking Grandpa Simpson too, right? That fucking canceled him because it was something about that.
I don't.
Or that bum. It was that bum. That
was one. That
bum. Homer paid for that bum's lawyer, and they sued Itchy and Scratchy and, like, had it closed down. But
I know what you're saying, though, like how that little selfish part where even me, who would love to sit back and kick my feet up and watch the UFC, like, fucking get whipped in court.
We're gonna have to watch Demetrius Johnson and fucking, like, not to say, like, he's not entertaining as fuck, but just, like, a watered down version of, like, Demetrius Johnson and Henry Cejudo, like, a million times after they're, like, four fight series, you know what I mean? Kind of like something like that, because I would hate to see that.
Yeah, like you can't help but think, like, well, how is this going to affect the product for me, like, for my viewing
exactly
enjoyment?
Great. I'm glad John Fitch is, like, gonna get $85,000.
Hey, way to go, Kung Lee.
yeah, exactly, dude. Like, fuck, who cares, dude? And for really, how much are they gonna get once you break it down? Class action lawsuits, like, after
let me
fees
see.
And everything, those dudes, what? I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't get more than, like, they're all gonna get less than $200K. I guarantee you. Which, I mean, is great. I'd probably do the same thing.
I could see that being a lot more than some of the fighters in that time, like, ever made. Apparently, it's going to be. It says the plaintiffs are seeking between $800 million and $1.6 billion.
Fuck.
Yeah, divide that by 1,200, and we'll see.
I would say take 30% off of that, and that's realistically what their wet dream would be. If you took 30% off the lowest number.
Okay,
that would be their wet dream.
Let's do that then. 800 million, and that's going to be times 0.7. So, okay, 560 million divided by 1,200 fighters. Man, that's still 466,000 per fighter.
The UFC is gonna say, "Here's 485 million. Get the fuck out of my sight. Just get the fuck out of here."
Oh, and we also have to account for the fact that there are certainly going to be some fighters who are going to opt out from this because you got to fucking stay good with the company. Likely fighters who are still competing and still fighting with the company and aren't retired. So let's round that number down to, let's say 700 fighters stay in. Let's say we have like 500 that opt out. So what was the number? It was like
485 million.
85 million divided by 700. It's about 692,857 per fighter, which is
cut the
now
lawyers.
Legal fees, exactly.
You're talking about 19.5% off of that.
Yeah, and then adjust for inflation because we're probably still not going to see any of that.
We're talking about
for like another 8 to 10 years, possibly. Yeah.
At the best, like they're gonna fucking Better Call Saul Sandpiper this fucking thing down, dude.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah,
you're gonna have fucking Marlon Moraes and dumpsters like looking for Dana's fucking old condoms and shit.
They're gonna find Logan Stanton in a hole in the ground.
Yeah. Jamie Varner's parents on fucking going.
They all have the nautical stars tatted on them. It's like a family thing.
The dad all wrinkled hellfish fucking tat.
So Amanda Lemos is going to challenge Zhang Weili for the women's strawweight championship on this card, also in our co-main event. This is a double title fight or a double title affair. This card. So let's touch on that one, and we got 8 minutes to talk about this co-main event, and we can wrap it up.
I need 1.5, so you got 7. You take 7, Haas. So
Zhang
Weili is the best fighter on this card.
Oh, dang.
She's the best fighter on this card. She's going to have the better career after this over all of them. More dominant, and that a lot of it has to do with, yes, she is fighting in WMMA because like there's maybe 2 more fights after this, maybe that are really gonna, because a lot of gals are retiring. Some just aren't showing up at all. So
some notable names who probably wouldn't have been good for Zhang Weili to stuck around or moving up, like Rose Namajunas, who has 2 wins over her. She's moving up to flyweight.
Right. So, but she's, as of this card, the way this card is breaking down, because O'Malley could definitely be a star if he just goes and pieces up Aljamain. Then what the fuck, that guy can be a crazy star. You know what I mean? Who knows? But I just think, for domination wise, all around game wise, resume. Aljamain's up there, but Zhang Weili's fucking, like, at least skill wise, if you put the resume and skill together on, because obviously Aljamain has this crazy resume, but I think Zhang is the best fighter on the card as of right now.
If Aljamain were to stick around at bantamweight and wasn't planning to move up, and would also be potentially open to fight his friend Merab, I do think that he could build up and maintain a more impressive legacy overall than Zhang probably would. But since he intends to move up and probably isn't guaranteed a title shot right off the bat at featherweight, maybe he is, maybe he's not. I can co-sign on that. I do think that given what the strawweight division is right now and the fights that she has on the horizon, I do think that if she gets past Amanda Lemos, then she's probably going to have a big super China fight with Yan Xiaonan. That's China versus China card.
Big super China fight.
The big China fight. That fight's gonna do crazy numbers in China or Singapore or wherever they decide to go and put that fight on. And then she has probably what would be her stiffest test if she gets past that, in Tatiana Suarez down the road. If Tatiana Suarez doesn't leapfrog over Yan Xiaonan, because people have a short-term memory. It sounds like a lot of people are also down for that. But as far as this matchup goes, I mean, to compare it to the main event, which we're already doing. I mean, has there been any performances from Amanda Lemos that kind of inspire you, or like so you think that Sean O'Malley has a better shot?
Anybody that Sean, what do you mean? Sean O'Malley has a better shot at winning? Oh yeah. Yeah. I think because when I think Amanda Lemos, I think like getting a wedgie that choked you out all the time. You know what I'm saying? That's basically like the wedgie of chokeouts. She had that triangle choke to Andrade, right?
Yeah.
Like anyone that can have that happen to them physically and Zhang Weili is fucking like, she is bodied the fuck up right now.
Yes, super freak athlete.
Yeah, so she's not fucking around when it's coming to strength training. She's not fucking around when it's coming to chemicals. She's not fucking around with anything. She's gonna be like she's got one of the best like strength and condition. Like her conditioning is one of the best in the whole UFC. Not just the female, the whole UFC. Her conditioning and her, she's getting like more fluent with her movements. I think all of the Chinese fighters are. It's not as robotic or tight. Like they're a lot more fluid with it. I think that comes from doing training camps out here, because she's in Thailand, right?
She is. She gets
It's
around
like
a lot
Tao.
too.
Yeah,
I know she does some training over at Tiger Muay Thai also, and so she
Yeah.
gets around, and yeah, I think she's done plenty of camps over here stateside. Also, she worked with Henry Cejudo, who we know that's greatly expanded her game, as far as the grappling goes, and yeah, I think you make a great point about that too, because we see that also in Yan Xiaonan and Song Yadong too, training over here with Team Alpha Male on the West Coast and stuff. So I think that is really rounding out their game and just making them overall
transitioning from wrestling to boxing, like the going from position to position and staying fluid, and not like, I guess like not just looking totally robotic and tight coming out of a scramble. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're more fluid in their scrambles. They're more fluid going in. If they're chain wrestling stuff and the takedown doesn't come up when they're in the pocket, it's not as herky-jerky as it used to seem with the Chinese fighters.
And that is something that Zhang Weili specifically pointed out, in Media Day today, that she wants to kind of put on display in this fight, that she is a good transitional fighter, that she could take the fight anywhere. And I think that, that's probably going to be a problem for Amanda Lemos, because, I mean, it sounds very like, oh, yeah, well, that's great when you can do that. Just mix it up, because sometimes you would rather see a fighter just be like, no, just stick with what works. That's all right. But I think against Amanda Lemos, who I'll tip my hat to her. I think she cracks harder than anybody that Zhang Weili has fought, up until now.
Yes.
She's got a fucking fastball, and we've seen her put it on Marina Rodriguez, recently. And I do think that, I mean, we've seen Zhang Weili put out, we saw Rose do it with a head kick.
Taking a shot, And I would say Lemos isn't as fundamentally sound and able to put things together as Rose is, as far as taking a game plan and implementing it the right way, and kind of just going with that game plan and what she's seen. She's probably, I guess, fight IQ. Rose Namajunas has a much better fight IQ than Lemos. Like, if you put Lemos's power and Rose Namajunas, that'd be fucking crazy.
Yeah.
As far as like being able to go through a strategic fight, but there's always that one in women's fighting, especially, and we're saying she's getting better at it, which implies that she still has. That's still not the best part of her game, is fluidity and getting out of the way, and
Yeah, and I think she needs to do that in this fight for sure. I think she needs to kind of put a pace on Amanda Lemos, should make her uncomfortable, probably spend some time against the cage. Even if she wants to fight, in range at distance and make it a stand-up fight, like, I think she needs to keep Amanda Lemos thinking about the threat of the takedown, just so that she just isn't able to kind of unload or get really comfortable, because Amanda Lemos doesn't have the highest output, but she manages distance really well. She slides in and out of the pocket really well, and she has a hell of she has a really, really good killer instinct. When she smells blood, she's a swarmer, and I do think that that's potentially dangerous for Zhang. But it's really exciting because Zhang's kind of the same way. Like we've seen what Zhang is able to do when she smells blood. Like going back to her original title championship fight with Jessica Andrade, where she kind of like, as soon as the wheels started to fall off for Andrade, she was just all over her. So I think this has potential to be a really exciting one. I think that Lemos has a better shot against Zhang than Sean O'Malley does against Aljamain, personally. But I do think that it's a good 1-2 punch of title fights that we're in store for. I may have been kind of critical of the card, but at the top, they're both really intriguing fights. And I do like that, there's going to be... this bantamweight title is potentially going to be up for grabs after this fight. That's really interesting because you just fans are going to have a lot of fun speculating or voicing their opinion on who should be fighting for that vacant title, assuming Sean O'Malley doesn't win it. And if he does, that's also going to be just as exciting for them. And I just like that there are a stream of contenders already in line for this women's strawweight title also, like the ones that we mentioned. I think that either outcome is going to be really, really interesting because, I'll be all over Amanda Lemos versus Yan Xiaonan. I think the most potential lame matchup, because I think it ends up being kind of one-sided, would be Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. Yeah. That would be... a little too early. A little too early, but also I think just stylistically kind of one-sided. But, hey, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it if that is the outcome that we get. But... our hour is up. We're going to go ahead and put a bow on it. It's been a good episode of the Fight Plug podcast. As always, it's been fun talking with you, going over these rule changes, kind of touching on that class action lawsuit. We'll probably be revisiting those topics in the coming episodes as we learn more about all of that stuff. And hopefully maybe we'll have some examples to kind of look back on from this card about those new rules being implemented. We'll see how these referees kind of take it. If it takes a little while for them to learn the new rules and kind of figure out what they can and can't do. Either way, this has been the Fight Plug podcast, our breakdown
over
of UFC
under 3
292.
minutes of Anderson Silva getting knocked out.
Over under Brandon stepping on my outros. Wait, what was your over under? I'm fucking around. What was it?
No, the lead up in this fight, like something happens. How much are they gonna squeeze that fucking limit of Weidman versus fucking Anderson Silva footage?
Oh,
do you think you're gonna see this week?
Oh, over under on how many just busted legs we see in general, like on the bumper, like the promo packages. Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna see at least 2 broken legs. I will go. We see, I mean, they could be the same broken legs, but just how many times will we see it? I'm going to say we're going to see those broken legs combined total of 5 times.
Yeah. Through the card, like from the early prelims up?
Yeah, I'll say even from the early prelims up. I'd be more comfortable saying it on pay-per-view, but I think that's kind of safe for pay-per-view because they're going to mention it at the top of the card, like as soon as we're going into the pay-per-view mode. Yeah. And then we have the returning Chris Weidman, and they're going to show them, or they're going to show him there, and then right before Weidman walks out, they're going to show him again, and then probably during, like while they're already in the cage announcing them, like the Rogan and Anik will probably show it again. Yeah.
Weidman and like guys like Kobe Covington are the reason why like everyone says like America just doesn't have the best MMA fighters anymore. Like we're not even really close. We're not even like top 3 UFC countries really.
I think there's not a lot of flag bearers. There's plenty of
who's Captain
American
America?
Champs still.
Who's Captain America though? Like in the UFC, you don't want it to be John Jones.
I was gonna say, like there's American champs, but they're not the ones that Colby Covington fans really want to get behind. You know, they want they want the blonde hair.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah,
absolutely.
Fed boy. Yeah.
I mean, Aljamain Sterling is an American champ.
An American champ. He still rocks the fucking Jamaican flag though.
Yeah, yeah. Some of them don't even really rep like the U.S. Like when Usman was champ, he was the Nigerian nightmare. I mean, he's always been the Nigerian nightmare. Yeah. Who was the last great American champ though? Like was it
Henry Cejudo?
Henry Cejudo?
Henry Cejudo was like fucking. You can't be an American gold medalist in something like wrestling and not be fucking king of the fucking United States, dude.
That's a good answer, and I know that Henry Cejudo is courting that demographic of fan.
Yeah.
I never really got much of a sense on if they were really behind him, because I still remember like Henry Cejudo having to resort to like the king of cringe to get attention, because like as great as he was, and you're absolutely right though, a fucking Olympic gold medalist for America, like absolutely. But his last name is Cejudo. He looks the way he does, and I think for a while people just weren't really into him. I guess
for us, like when we think about Americans, we think of Mexican Americans or Americans. You know, we're from the southern part of right near the border of Mexico. Like there's a lot of border states, but like we see it all the time. So I guess for me, really, I didn't have to. It's probably be a lot harder for someone in say like Illinois or Indiana to think fucking Henry Cejudo's Captain America.
Bryce,
like, obviously,
Bryce Mitchell.
For real, dude. I'm sorry I went off on that tangent, but
it's all good.
It just made me think. Seeing Chris Weidman on this card, and then putting that up against like Aljamain's American, of course. Sean O'Malley's American, so. And I guess he'd be like a video game American. Sean O'Malley would for sure be a video game American. You know what I'm saying?
Video game American? What the fuck is a video game American, dude? Is that like that meme I sent? Like, be the Mexican that Japanese video game creators think you are? Like,
and then it's T-Hawk and fucking.
Okay, I get it now.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so like
he's a caricature of America.
Yeah, he's a TikTok American that like they see like, oh, he's a snowboarder in. Like you snowboard into you like spin a snowboard walking into the ring and shit. Like his map is like in Denver, like on the slopes or something like that. Like he's like a SSK. What was that? SSK or whatever, SSX.
SSX, yeah. No, absolutely. I could see that for sure. Ultimately, I think the answer is Brock Lesnar. Though I think Brock Lesnar was the last great American champion. Sure. Bo Cephas was really fucking showing up for every Brock Lesnar fight. Yeah. All right, are we really ready to end this now?
Yeah.
We ready to put a bow on it? All right, man. Thanks for joining me again, folks. If you enjoyed this episode, as always, hit the like button. That's going to help our engagement. That's going to help the algorithm serve our fun little show out for other people who might be interested in it. And if you don't want to miss any of our future episodes, consider subscribing and hitting the bell so that it reminds you of all of our future uploads. For now, for Brandon and myself, this has been the Fight Plug Podcast. We'll see you in the next one. Oh.